We've all felt a lot of anger toward a villain at some point. After all, villains are made to be hated. But did you know there are times when we actually end up feeling sorry for a movie's antagonist, even when they're clearly doing the wrong thing? Pawbert. Just like in the first movie, Zootopia 2 introduced another character who seemed kind and harmless, but ended up betraying Judy and Gary in the end. Pawbert. The scene where Pawbert reveals that he manipulated everyone in order to achieve his own goals left a lot of people furious with the character, and rightfully so. However, the truth is that he did all of that just to finally be accepted by his father, who never truly valued him. Pawbert manipulated people, committed crimes, and even tried to take the lives of the main characters simply to be seen as an exemplary son. Those choices were terrible, but many people in real life also make wrong decisions just to gain approval. Just not on that level. At least most of the time. But you know what's worst? All of it was for nothing. Since Pawbert failed in the end, he never earned his father's love, who continued to treat him as worthless. And that will never change. Pawbert betrayed his only friends for absolutely nothing. And in the end, no one likes him anymore. Yeah, but he's not the only antagonist who makes us feel a little sorry for him. Ready to find out the 10 times everyone felt bad for animated villains? So grab your popcorn and get comfy on the couch. Another Cinewave is starting. Jinu. At the beginning of K-pop Demon Hunters, we're led to believe that demons are completely evil, heartless beings. But that changes when we discover that Rumi herself is half demon. Even then, it's easy to think she might be good only because of her human half, while full demons are always 100% evil, at least until we meet Jinu. Despite being a full demon and working for Gui Ma, the Demon King, Jinu showed a genuine desire to be a good person, mainly because in a distant past, he was an ordinary human who lived in extreme poverty and often went hungry. Because of that, Gui Ma managed to convince him to sell his soul in exchange for musical abilities. Jinu became a talented enough musician to be invited to live in the royal palace and enjoy an excellent quality of life. The problem was that he couldn't take his family with him. Even so, Jinu accepted leaving his mother and sister behind to live there, and that decision haunted him for the rest of his life. The shame Jinu felt because of that choice is what allowed Gui Ma to turn him into a demon. From that moment on, Jinu became a servant of the Demon King, constantly hearing his voice in his head and being influenced by it. Jinu was a villain for centuries and must have committed countless evil acts, but before that, he was just another victim manipulated by Gui Ma. Even so, he never stopped regretting what he did to his family. That's why, in the end, he sacrificed himself to help Rumi defeat Gui Ma, showing that it's never too late to do the right thing. Eggman. Eggman, also known as Robotnik, is another villain who once seemed completely evil, until the events of Sonic 3 made us change our opinion about the mad scientist. It was already clear from the first movie that Eggman became a megalomaniacal villain because he received no love during his childhood, since he was an orphan and other children mocked him. Of course, that's not an excuse to become evil, but it's easy to understand him. Because of that, Eggman was incredibly happy when he finally got to meet his grandfather, Gerald Robotnik, and experience the childhood he never had by his side. Even so, when he discovered that Gerald wanted to destroy the entire world instead of ruling it, Eggman chose to betray the only person who truly understood him and sacrifice himself to save the world, showing that what Eggman really wanted wasn't world domination, but to be loved. His sacrifice was heartbreaking, but it's comforting to know that he at least realized Agent Stone was his true friend. Lotso. Lotso from Toy Story 3 is the kind of villain who seems friendly at first, until he reveals himself to be a ruthless manipulator. He rules the daycare where Woody's group ends up with an iron fist, preventing any toy from escaping. On top of that, Lotso sends new toys to a room where all the kids are rough and careless, so he can enjoy peace and comfort in the room with the well-behaved children. But the teddy bear wasn't always like that, and the scene where this is revealed is absolutely heartbreaking. In it, we see that Lotso was once a very happy toy who was deeply loved by his owner, until he ended up being lost along with some of her other toys. He and his friends went on a long journey to return to the girl's house, but then Lotso realized he had been replaced by another identical teddy bear. That moment turned Lotso into a disillusioned toy who believes all toys are destined to be forgotten and suffer. So what about you? Did you feel sorry for any of the villains we mentioned so far? If so, comment below #villains. Spider-Man 2099. In Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, we see many different versions of Marvel's most popular superhero, and one of them is Spider-Man 2099, also known as Miguel O'Hara. He is a superhero like the others, but he ends up taking on the role of an antagonist in the movie because he stands against Miles Morales. While Miles Morales wants to prevent his father from losing his life, Miguel O'Hara believes that this should not be stopped because it is a canon event. In other words, something that must happen in the life of a Spider-Man. If the event is prevented, that Spider-Man's universe will be destroyed. Miles believes there must be some way to stop the canon event without anyone else losing their life. But Miguel doesn't believe that, to the point of imprisoning Miles in a cage to stop him from saving his own father. However, an important detail is that Miguel doesn't even want to try to find another solution, because he already tried to do that in the past. His wife and daughter died, so Miguel traveled to another universe where his own version had lost his life, replacing him so he could live with his family. The result? That entire universe was erased from existence because of him, and he was forced to watch his wife and daughter die all over again, which is incredibly sad and traumatizing. Syndrome. Syndrome is one of the most evil villains in all of Pixar, perhaps the most evil of them all. He took the lives of dozens of superheroes, was willing to eliminate children, and didn't even care about the safety of his assistant, even though she helped him so much. Even so, Syndrome only reached that point because of a trauma in his past. As a child, Syndrome was called Buddy Pine and was a huge fan of Mr. Incredible, and his biggest dream was to become his partner. However, Mr. Incredible avoided Buddy Pine in every possible way because he was a child without any superpowers. It's understandable from Mr. Incredible's perspective, but the way he treated the boy was somewhat insensitive, and that's what made Buddy become obsessed with destroying all superheroes, especially because, despite being human, Buddy Pine was always extremely intelligent and managed to build rocket boots even though he was only about 10 years old. The boy must have put an incredible amount of effort into that, but Mr. Incredible didn't even congratulate him. That could have changed everything. On the other hand, the fact that Syndrome became as evil as he did suggests that maybe he was always destined to be evil, and that Mr. Incredible's support wouldn't have changed anything, but we'll never know for sure. Te-Ka. The first Moana movie shows the young navigator on a journey to return the heart of Te Fiti to the goddess, while Te-Ka is initially seen as an obstacle to that goal. However, later we discover that Te-Ka is a different kind of villain from most others, because she isn't just a villain with a sad backstory, but someone who is transformed into a monster against her own will. Te-Ka was actually Te Fiti herself, who became that creature after losing her heart. She is the true victim of this story, but Moana fortunately managed to save her and restore her back to Te Fiti. Tai Lung. Tai Lung from the first Kung Fu Panda is known by many as one of the most unfairly treated villains in animation. That's because even though he clearly crossed many lines, fans still feel sorry for him, since his only goal was to become the Dragon Warrior. Tai Lung was trained intensively from a very young age by Master Shifu to become the Dragon Warrior, but he became so obsessed with that goal that Master Shifu refused to allow him to earn the title. That only made the situation worse, since Tai Lung turned into a true monster, capable of doing anything to achieve his dream. And that makes us wonder, did Tai Lung really not deserve to become the Dragon Warrior? Or could he have become a true hero if he had been raised differently by Master Shifu? It's very possible that this is the case. The subscribe button is right there, waiting for you. How about clicking and keeping up with everything we post? Bellwether. We talked about Pawbert's case in Zootopia 2, but Bellwether from the first movie also has a sad side that makes you feel a bit sorry for her. The thing is, these moments happen before she reveals herself as a villain, when we still see her as an innocent little sheep. There are several moments when Mayor Lionheart is rude to Bellwether and treats her more like a secretary than a vice mayor. Bellwether only got that position so the public would see the mayor as a great guy for hiring a prey animal. Some people think Bellwether didn't mind being mistreated because it helped her stay unnoticed, but the truth is that she only developed hatred toward predators and created a plan for prey animals to take power precisely because she went through those problems every single day. Looking at it from this perspective, all that pity we felt for Bellwether at the beginning comes rushing back. Bellwether was basically a version of Judy who grew resentful of predators and decided to fight back, but she went way too far and became even more prejudiced than the predators who underestimated her. her. Evelyn Deavor. Incredibles 2 also introduced a very evil and manipulative villain, much like Syndrome. Evelyn Deavor tried to use hypnosis to control the minds of superheroes and make them commit terrible acts, all just to destroy their reputation. Terrible, right? But there's a very sad reason why she hates superheroes so much. Evelyn's father was a huge fan and supporter of superheroes, and he was even friends with some of them. One day, their house was broken into by burglars. Instead of hiding, Evelyn's father decided to call his superhero friends to ask for help. The problem is that the robbery happened on the same day supers were banned from fighting crime, so no one answered the calls, and Evelyn's parents were killed. This led Evelyn to believe that superheroes are bad, because they make people wait to be saved instead of saving themselves. Even though that doesn't justify what Evelyn did, her criticism actually makes a certain amount of sense. The fun doesn't stop here. There are 2 amazing videos waiting for you on the screen. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.